Anca, lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Whereabouts are you based right now?
In London, Lewisham, more specifically.
Yeah. The- we were introduced by Andrew Phillips, who tells me that as well as being a doctor, a consultant psychiatrist, you're
Yep.
also an award-winning actress. Um, and I've just taken up, or recently taken up, scuba diving.
Well, I've been scuba diving for about 10 years now.
Ah, oh,
So yeah,
okay, so not recently at all.
not recently, but also not doing quite as much as I would like to. So
Okay. Well, just before we get into the scuba bit, can you just fill us in a bit about being a doctor and an actor?
of course,
It's quite a
thank you.
combination.
Yeah, I know. I think acting has always kind of been one of my passions. Like from when I was 5 or 6, and my parents would take me to the theater back in Romania, which is where I'm from. And initially, they were telling me this story how they were a bit anxious about having me there because how much attention span does a 5-year-old have? But they said I was absolutely fascinating watching quietly. And then after the revolution, communism falling, we started getting all sorts of films. And I remember going to the cinema as much as I could back in my hometown. But at that time, I couldn't pursue acting or filmmaking. I didn't have the opportunities. So I decided to go into medicine. Graduated back in Romania, but then moved to London to continue working as a psychiatrist, so specializing in mental health. And while I was working as a psychiatrist, I decided to try see does acting actually suit me? Because yeah, I always wanted to do it, but never quite known would I be any good at it. And I had a wonderful teacher. I started an introduction to acting at Morley College, and the teacher was so supportive and encouraging that I thought, why don't I take it further? And in the end, when I became a consultant psychiatrist, I trained full time at drama school at East 15 Drama School in London. And now I kind of combine the two, working as a locum doctor around my acting commitments. So,
Fantastic. And what an unusual combination. I mean, amazing. I'm just looking at your website here and your CV and skills section on the page here is quite extraordinary. I mean, there's not a lot you don't do, but and I could talk about that all day. But as we're here for Scubaverse and things, let's talk about the diving. What got you hooked into diving in the first place?
it's so interesting because, as you said, like my skill set is quite wide, which I feel to me translates that I have interest in anything that sounds interesting. And that's kind of how I came about scuba diving. A friend of mine who I've met soon after moving to London, so we didn't know each other very well, but she mentioned that she did scuba diving and potentially in autumn she might go scuba in Egypt. And she asked, would I be interested? And I said, yeah, sounds great, thinking maybe that's where it all ends. And then a few months later, she calls me and said, okay, so this is the plan, this is where we're going, but for that, you would need to get like the PADI license and do this. And I thought, oh my God, this is actually happening. It sounds amazing. So yeah, I did my training and I finished my open water certification in Sharm el Sheikh in Egypt. And this was in 2012. And this is how it all started, and I've never looked back.
And no, once it gets you, that's it. I do remember, even after all these years, of the very first time of putting in a demand valve, and that second of putting your head under the water felt absolutely ridiculous to then take a breath, and I
Yeah.
was quite apprehensive. But then, as soon as my head and it was working, I thought, yeah, this is
Yeah,
it.
a
This is,
hundred percent, a hundred
yeah.
percent. It felt so weird, and I think it's something that's gonna stay with us forever. It was like and also the image clearing, like kind of as you go underwater and suddenly you can see very clear and you can breathe, and it's like, am I actually breathing? Yeah. And especially at that time I wasn't doing a lot of snorkeling, because now I do quite a bit of snorkeling as well, so I wasn't used to breathing underwater at all.
No, absolutely. Tell me, what do you love most since you've been doing it now about diving? What makes you want to get in the
Yeah.
water again?
It is the marine life. It's just, and especially I have such a soft spot for turtles. So whenever I see turtles underwater, like just swimming, I haven't seen many of them, but each time I see one, it's so special. So for me, it's the marine life and just, yeah, seeing them in their habitat, just swimming around you and not being even bothered that you're there, and just carrying on with their lives, and you get this glimpse into their life, into their space. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think when one has an encounter with uh, a different species, especially underwater, no matter what it is, whether it's a little crab or a whale or whatever, it's just fantastic. There's nothing that compares to it.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely.
So have you had any good close encounters with animals, or do you tend to stay away and just observe? I mean, what's your normal diving practice, if you like, when you're on reefs and things?
I think I stay away and observe. Like I don't, because I like not to bother them in any way, if that makes sense. And of course, they do come close to us, so it's not like I shy away and go away from them. But I try also not to bother. But yeah, for me, again, is the turtles. I've seen some nice octopi, I think it is the plural, which I really enjoyed as well. Um, yeah. And I mean, this isn't scuba dive related, but when I went to Florida a couple of months ago, I also snorkeled with the manatees, and that was very special as well. Um, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes, indeed. I mean, that is extraordinary to be able to do that. How long were you with them?
It was just a like one-off. I think we were in the water for about an hour, so I don't know. Good, time is relative, isn't it? Uh,
It's true. It's true.
and yeah, so like it's not possible to scuba dive with them because they get scared of the bubbles. So we were only able to snorkel. But actually, it was so cool that I was on top of the water, and the manatee actually came and touched my tummy, and then it went on, and I feel like, oh my God, I've been touched by a manatee. I'm such a child. Sorry.
No,
I get too
not at all.
excited.
Uh, we all are. I think, yeah. No, I can associate with that absolutely. So, at what stage in your qualifications are you now with as being a diver?
So I've only done the open water. I am considering potentially doing like the next levels. I don't know. I've always felt like with the open water, I get to see everything that I need to see. Now I am, because it's been a few years. I'm a lot more confident with it. I still have a bit of anxiety each time before I go in, but then once I'm there, it's always wonderful. So I am thinking of yeah, doing a few more of the special trainings now.
Have you dived in the UK yet?
Not in the UK. Do you
No.
recommend it? I don't know.
Oh,
It's cold,
absolutely.
isn't it? And you can't see much.
Oh, no,
Am
no,
I
no, no.
wrong?
Yes.
All right, all right. So
I mean,
where
okay,
should I go?
you're right for 50% of the time. The other 50%, I mean, you can't go in now, it's winter, the storms, the seas
Yeah.
rough, etc., and lakes are okay. But sometimes in the winter and the summer, the visibility is fantastic, depending where you are in the UK, of course.
Mm.
And the marine life is stunning, so colourful.
Really?
Oh,
Mm.
yes, 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 yes. Do just do a web search,
Okay.
or have a look at a book about British marine life. I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised.
All right. You've talked me into it.
I hope
It's
so.
not hard. It's not
I hope
hard.
so. The thing is, of course, if it's winter time, you'll need
Yeah.
dry suit training.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's good. Oh, no, try it. You'll love it.
Okay. I will.
Absolutely. So where have you dived at the moment? So you've been Manatees, you've been to the Red Sea. Yeah,
Yeah, I've been to the Red Sea a few times. So initially in Sharm el Sheikh, where we went for a week of scuba diving. Then in Dahab, a week of scuba diving. Then I went to Hurghada, Cape Verde, Cape Green. Left Garda quite recently, now in America, in Florida, from Florida. And I'm going in America, in California, actually, because I'm a judge at the film festival in June. And I'm considering, I've already started searching for some scuba diving places and things like that. Because the good thing is I got my partner also into scuba diving. So now it's like I have someone to go with, and yeah. So
Ah,
yeah,
great, great. I mean, that is so important to be able to share those experiences with somebody.
100%.
Yeah, and then talk about it afterwards. Fantastic. I always find, I think I'm truly at my most content when I'm underwater. And as soon as my head goes under, everything surface wise, whatever issues there are of any sort, just are gone, disappear. Do you get the same?
100%.
Mm.
Because I feel like when I scuba dive, I'm really in the moment. Like it's maybe it's a form of meditation or something, but it's just I am there and that's what's happening. I don't think about things that I have to do. I don't think about, I don't know, problems or work, or it's just I am then and there enjoying what's happening. And yeah.
No, absolutely. And even when you come then back to the surface, it takes an hour or two for those surface things to filter back into your brain. But diving is wonderful, wonderful therapy. I mean, actually, just thinking about it, being a psychiatrist, do you ever suggest diving to clients?
I haven't particularly, but if they would be open to discussing that, I would love to. But I've never quite recommended, because it is something that I guess, people need a certification. People might need certain to afford certain things in order, like a holiday or even driving somewhere. Or so, yeah, I think. But I completely agree that it could be something that would definitely help people.
Ah,
So I know what you mean.
right, yes. So now you've been diving 12 years. You've obviously seen a, a good bit of wildlife. Do you find yourself getting interested or involved in conservation at all? In protecting the trouble the seas are in at the moment with all sorts of things, with fishing, pollution, et cetera, et cetera. Do you take an interest in that?
I am very passionate actually about climate change, just in general, as well as in particular oceans. So in the sense of I've given up eating meat or animal products, so I don't eat fish, I don't eat, and I promote that lifestyle. So it's been going on now for 5 years. It actually was watching Cowspiracy and then later on Seaspiracy that did it for me. I support Sea Shepherd whenever I get the chance to. It's I've actually devised a play with some people called "This Play Will Solve Climate Change," that looks at the effect that climate change can have, but also the things that we can do as people to help, and including tackling plastic pollution and yeah, not eating animal products and animals themselves, that kind of thing. So yeah, it is something I'm quite passionate about.
Oh, that's so good to hear. I mean, there are so many divers that I meet who spend a lot of money, they enjoy the trips, they'll dive, they'll see a bit of wildlife, and take very little interest in the fact that not too many years beforehand, the wildlife was twice what it is now, or four
Yeah,
times, and et
yeah.
cetera, et cetera. So marine conservation kind of slips by quite a lot of people. So it's fantastic to hear that you're so involved with it. And those two films you mentioned too, wonderful films.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So now that you're diving, well diving, acting, any plans or hopes to play diving parts in any
I would
dramas?
love to. I would love to. I actually mentioned to my agent in case anything like that comes up to let me know. I've sent her photos of me scuba diving and videos just so that she's aware that if that kind of roles come up, I would love to be considered for them because I think it's so wonderful. And also, like, I'm also a writer, director, producer, and it is something that I would love to maybe one day do. I don't think I'm there yet in terms of my experience as a director, producer to actually do something that includes underwater stuff. But maybe one day.
Yeah, well, yes, that would be excellent for you. My goodness. I've, do you think you'd tend to go to the drama side or presenting? So, I mean, people are always looking for underwater wildlife presenters. I mean, is that something you would like to look at?
I've never considered it, to be honest, because I've always kind of seen myself as an actor more than a presenter. So I've never actually considered it.
Right.
Maybe something I should think about.
It may get you into a bit more diving. Who knows? My goodness. And also, of course, it gets you to traveling to some amazing places to see
Exactly.
wildlife. So there's always that. Anka, it's been lovely talking to you. I wish you the greatest success with your diving. I think the rest of your career is pretty well set. I think, especially looking at your website, amazing. So for now, I'll say goodbye and take care.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me here. And yeah, take care.
Thanks, now, Anka. Bye.
Bye bye.